やっぱりあの人の子だな。
それからひたすら目立たずに済むように徹底して過ごしたよ。そうやって中学を乗り切って高校に入って。
Hello everybody, MakersOutX here, back at it again to give y'all another very exciting episode review over ReZero Season 2 with my Episode 4 review of Parent and Child. And if you haven't already done so, you can go ahead and click that card in the corner and check that Episode 3 review out. If you somehow happen to miss it or whatever though, need to get a catch up, need to get a recap or whatever though, and then come back and watch this one though. But man, I gotta say for this one, I feel sort of kind of mixed. There are some really good moments where it really did hit really hard with Subaru's backstory with him and his relationships with his father and his mother. There were some moments in that episode that I felt were clicking really good, but then again I looked at the episode length and I was like, okay, I felt like they hit me really hard and I felt like they could have crammed this all in within a shorter time period, but I did feel like they sort of kind of managed to stretch it out a little bit too long for its own good. That's just my own personal opinions about it though. But I'm going to talk about the stuff that I found good about the episode and the stuff that I found a little bit negative about the episode though. But overall, it's just sort of kind of felt very mixed though. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight up into this episode review of ReZero Season 2. In this episode, they laser focused on Subaru's mental state and delved into the kind of person he was before he went into the other world. In From Zero, Subaru admitted to himself loathing and despaired about how he hasn't changed. But in Parent and Child, it becomes apparent that he actually has grown up and he is able to move forward. These two episodes complement each other through and through, and I'm sure a lot of people watching them will find parts of Subaru's character are interesting as well as relatable. And I know for me personally, I did relate with him with some little moments that he has throughout some of this flashback. Throughout this flashback, it is shown that he is just so terribly human with so many flaws, just like the average person. The most significant one is that he hates himself so much that he'll never give himself any credit and will go out of the way to lower other people's expectations of him. But in truth, he always did have it in him to be a hero in someone else's life. We all do, really. And I think I can understand now why Subaru hasn't really thought about his parents until this trial and why we hadn't, seen this flashback until all the way until season 2. And it's because that he doesn't think that much about them. Because he'll be confronted with the reality that he has left them behind for good, and he never did exchange a proper farewell with them. In the liminal reality of Ekidena's trial, Subaru is able to find that closure, but in the real world, none of that probably ever actually happened. And it does make me wonder and think how Subaru's parents feel with him disappearing, and they don't even know probably where he even is at this moment though. That's just something to think about right there in itself. In a story that hinges so much on Subaru's dying over and over again, it seems very significant to me that what drives his biggest character moments is love from other people. Despite being summoned into a harsh world, the world itself isn't necessarily out to get Subaru, and there are genuinely people who love him and care about him. Experiencing love in the other world is what makes Subaru able to truly appreciate the love and kindness from the people in the old world. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the good stuff about this episode though. But the stuff that I would say on the negative episode is, if you happen to be, watching the episode, and if you happen to look down at the bottom of the episode, where you can skip the different parts of the moments, rewind, do all that good stuff, you will happen to notice that this was actually a fairly long episode. Everything put together, no commercials. It was literally about 28 minutes. That's probably the longest amount of time that we had with an episode length in terms of this whole entire season 2, because most of them have been in and around that 22, maybe 24ish though, but I have 28 minutes though. You got to remember they did manage to show the ending theme song now, which was about roughly like the last minute and a half though. This was almost essentially like a 30-minute episode, like the longest one. Most of your typical anime episodes might get 22, maybe 24 minutes, but not go all the way up to 28 when it's all said and done though. And it also helps, the matter of fact, there's not an opening up in here, so you add that extra a minute and a half of screen footage showing for all of us to watch though. But I would say, you know what, I felt like the most important parts were hit with his mother, hit with his father, hit with his own his own self, him beating himself up for the kind of character that he was. I felt like you might have been able to jam all that down into like a solid 10 minutes, at least me personally, because for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of flashback stories, and you have to do them just right, the perfect length, hit really hard, and it's basically all killer and no filler for me to really love those flashback stories, because you're basically taking yourself out of the action of where you're at right now and saying, let's rewind to a previous point, and then you have to pull yourself back up in there though. But I guess it sort of kind of works a little bit better since this is a trial, and you sort of kind of have to reflect back on your past in order to basically try to pass this trial that Ekidena is trying to give to Subaru at the moment, because her girl, Amelia, just, isn't capable of basically doing anything in the show, which is honestly really unfortunate though. But personally, I wasn't a big fan of this episode in terms of that flashback though. Don't get me wrong, all the stuff I said previously were the things I really didn't like about this show. I just felt like they probably dragged it on a little bit too long, and I felt like if they could have made it a little bit more concise, jam-packed it a little bit more, and then throw in, what was the big epiphany about what was really the importance of why Ekidena actually showed him this trial, because Ekidena could have showed him, put him through any trial. It could have been a fighting, sparring thing for all we know, but you know what was the big importance of him being able to reflect upon his past for what he needs to basically do next? Because a trial means you're basically prepping yourself to do something greater that's about to come later on. So that's just the one little piece I'm missing to tie into this backstory that probably would have gave it a better sense of wrap up, tying up this big old package and to have that much more of an impact. I think that's just what's missing within my heart while watching this episode though. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below, what all do you think about this episode? What are things that you really liked about this episode, or things that you really did not like about this episode? And just leave all your thoughts down in the comment section down below though. But that's pretty much all I have to say about this episode review though. So you really like this review, go ahead and hit this like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell in order to stay up to date on all things ReZero Season 2 related for this season though. So remember y'all, until whatever video I make next, see y'all.
思ったより随分と早く着いたね。ようこそ。自分の過去と向き合う時間は君に何をもたらしたかな？